It's the 19th of April, time for another class. We'll go for about 50 minutes, 50 minutes, just under the hour. I think it seems to be okay. So we just begin. Take a really good in-breath, and on a long, slow, gentle out-breath, close down. So put all of your effort into the closing down. That's the thing to do in the very beginning. And then concentrate in and around the waist, in and around the centre. And make sure the movements are smooth and accurate, and they don't stop at the top. So actually there's a YouTube, keep going, there's a YouTube video that shows Master Huang and it stops at the top. And my teacher has said that actually you should be careful when you watch those videos. Actually, for whatever reasons, sometimes they were shown slightly incorrectly. So smooth turning of the waist, and as you flow down and into the leg, you can listen down and into the leg. So listen into the leg, that increased listening energizes the muscles a little more than they would be normally. And then that allows the stretching to increase. The muscles are more ready to stretch. So stretching onto the ground brings the support back up through the body to in and around the waist. And then the flowing down of the upper body onto the lower body increases the waist pressure, center pressure. Of course, it also increases the foot pressure. If you're newer and listening to foot pressure, then the flowing down of the upper body will also increase the foot pressure. So there's been a question about the timing between the upper and lower body. So as a rule of thumb, with the arms, as the arms reach halfway up, we begin to send the mind down. So mind down, halfway up. Arms halfway up, mind down. When the arms continue on to 2/3 of the way up, then the lower body is already responding to the mind going down. So 2/3 of the way up, the lower body is falling away. And that gives you the space, if you like, the spine's lengthened, that gives you the space for the shoulder blades to drop in. And then the shoulder blades having dropped, then the elbows drop, then the wrists drop. So rule of thumb is halfway up, mind down. Mind down. I was pointing to the wrong way. So halfway up, mind down. 2/3 of the way up, the lower body is already responding. And then that creates the lengthening of the spine, and then the shoulder blades can drop, then the elbows can drop, and so on. So that's the rule of thumb for the timing between the upper and lower body. And here there's a slight complication. Well, the legs are doing different things at different times. So in the lifting, there's already a sinking. In the lifting, there's already a sinking. So there was another question about the third loosening exercise related to the timings in the individual legs. And it's in some ways similar here. The lifting and sinking starts to take place they overlap more and more. So the lifting through the one leg, the sinking begins in the other leg. And so beginners sometimes do this. They press out of one leg, and even though they don't know it, they also press out of the other leg, and then they release this leg. And then they press out of the one leg, also then press out of the second leg, and then release that leg. So that's not uncommon, that people press out of both legs and then release the one. So that's not quite right. That's a beginner's mistake. And so ideally the force is lifting through the one leg as you simultaneously begin to sink into the opposite leg. So we'll do the second loosening exercise. So pull the mind up and really fill the lungs. In the out breath, the mind down, center falls away, the spine's lengthening, and then pull up again. So we really want to change the length of the spine, separate the upper and lower body. So here both legs are releasing at the same time, and both legs are activating at the same time. Unlike the previous exercise where there was a sort of overlapping taking place, here there's both legs are doing the same things at the same time. So a little less complex, you might say. So more time to concentrate on the changes in the center of the body, the spine and the shoulder blades, back of the neck. Pull the mind up in the lifting, of course. Mind down in the sinking. Let the lower body fall away and the upper body lengthen, and then the upper body flows onto the lower body. So we really want to get this, if you keep going, we really want to get this separation of upper and lower body going. So the lower body falls away to lengthen the upper body. Then the upper body flows onto the lower body, compressing the lower body. Then the lower body, having been compressed, begins to press away and the upper body compresses. And then the upper body expands, the lower body falls away. So we get this really good separation of upper and lower body. And we make that as big as you possibly can, so that then you can begin to manage it. So as big as you possibly can. Let the lower body fall away, keep the head top suspended so you really feel the spine lengthen. And then let the legs compress into the upper body, and then the upper body expands away. Lower body falls away. Upper body flows on. So you could try to emphasize some of those things. And it's never the case that the exercise is perfect, of course. It's never the case, and you shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't think that there's a reasonable level for the exercise. You should be continually trying to refine something. Some small thing always needs to be refined. No matter how long you've trained, some small thing can be refined. And if you've trained for a long time, actually you probably see more of the imperfections than the things that are working well. And you could say that's a mark of the longer training, that you see the things that need to be changed, and so therefore you're building in a sense of continuous improvement, a continuous refinement, not change for the sake of change, but against the backdrop of the information that you have for how the exercises should be trained. There's always something to refine. We'll do the third one. So here, again, the simultaneous nature of the forces in the legs, really. And the timing of this one's quite complex. So actually the timing in this one's closer to the pushing hands, or the expression of the issuing in the pushing hands. So you're pressing out of one leg and simultaneously sinking down and into the other leg. It's probably true that in the last 7 years, if you've trained with me in the last 7 years or so, if that's when you've joined, that we've probably talked more about the upper body changes and timings. Keep going with the third loosening exercises. We've probably talked about more of the changes in the upper body in more recent years than the changes in the lower body. So the previous 7 years we concentrated strongly on the lower body changes. And say the 7 years before that, because that's easily how long I've been teaching in the northeast. The 7 years before that, we were concentrating on making sure the body released it well, the connection was onto the ground, finding the ground. In 2000 I began teaching in the northeast, the year 2000. So next year that will be the 21 years. So yeah, it's reasonable to say the last 6 or so years we've been adding more of the upper body timings. Previous 7 years, lower body timing. Previous 7 years, the more basic releasing, aligning, connecting to the ground. So I'd say that's a reasonable way to think about it. But all of these things shouldn't be forgotten. And if you weren't around for the previous 14 years and have only been around for the more recent years, then you have to capture the things. Have to capture the base and build a good foundation. We do the fourth exercise. Really smooth wave of lifting, good in breath. Mind down, center down. The upper body flows onto the lower body. Foot pressure, waist pressure. Hips are opening, chest, back of the neck, crown of the head, already lifting. Mind down, center falls away to lengthen the spine, and then the shoulder blades drop. Elbows drop, wrists drop. Pull strongly up. About halfway up, mind down. 2/3 of the way up, lower body's responding. Flow into the ground. Pull up. Mind down, center down. Upper body lengthens. Upper body flows on, hips open, hands fill, bend the knees. Make sure there's more movement in the shoulder girdle than in the hands. Often the exercise is done this way, lots of movement in the hands and nothing happening in the shoulders. Make sure you do the opposite. Maximum movement in the shoulders and minimize the hand movements. You can open the backs of the knees to stretch the legs. Bend the knees. Concentrate fully in and around the spine. So this will set you up for the next exercise. Concentrating in and around the spine with a full concentration. So when we do the fifth loosening exercise now, you've already listened well into the spine, in and around the spine. And as we move into the fifth loosening exercise, you can concentrate fully in the spine as you connect to the front foot and then sense into the spine, in and around the spine, as you push back from the front leg, over and down to the back foot. Flow down and into the centre. And when you settle to the front foot, energize the spine. And then we sit back, we activate. Then over and down to the back foot. The mind's already gone to the foot, which has energized the leg. And then the activation of the stretching leg. The rear hip opens, chest opens. Settle to the front foot. Pull the mind up and over. Over and down to the back foot. Flow down and into the centre. Lower back, of course, is changing. Shoulder blades drop. Look to change the shape of the upper body. And settle to the front foot. Energize the spine. Sit back. Over and down to the back foot. Flow down and into the centre. We won't do too many. Couple more. So make maximum effort in each cycle. It's not about doing more cycles. It's about deepening the quality of each cycle. Okay, sit back on this one. Concentrate in the back leg for the wave of contraction, wave of release in the back leg. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out and sink. Change. Pull the mind up and back. Over and down to the back foot, through the heel under the ground, into the distance, flow down and into the centre so the rear hip is opening, the lower back is opening. When you settle to the front foot, energize the spine, sit back through the spine, over and down to the back foot so the lower back is dropping, opening, shoulder blades drop, rear hip opens, send out the mind, bring a wave. Then settle to the front foot. Energize the spine. Sitting back. Over and down to the back foot. Flow down and into the centre. Rear hip opens. Chest opens. Settle to the front foot. Energize the spine. Sitting back. Over and down to the back foot. Flow into the centre. Bring a wave. Settle to the front foot. And sit back on this one. Concentrate in the back leg. Breathe out and sink. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out and sink. So we'll go over the fifth section of the form is what we're working on. I'll just do the complete fifth section. So that in my little videos where I broke it all down, that's A through to D, I think. Anyway, it combines the two pieces, the pieces that we did in the last two classes, put them into one, which is the complete fifth section. So I'll do the fifth section from this orientation. The snake creeps down, a single whip, and then into snake creeps down. Pivot on the heel, the ball of the foot, the hands lengthen, arms lengthen. Adjust the front foot. Try to find something behind the fingers. Don't just move the hands around. Adjusting the back foot. So the hips driving through the fingers. Sit a long way back and the left hand drops. Palms open. Open the left toes. Pressing out of the back leg and now sinking into the left leg. So that shouldn't be a lifting. And the shoulder blades dropping for the wrists to lift. So the shoulder blades drop and the hands rise up on the centre line. Rotate the wrists, stepping back. Turning to the right, hands drop into the quad. Turn back, still sinking. Small circle. Turn to the right, stretching through the trunk and arms. Turn to the left and the hands lift up to the left. Step behind, Flow down and into the back foot. Keep the back leg changing if you can. Stepping out. Shoot tiger with bow. Center falls, shoulders fall, elbows fall, hands fall around the hip. Shoulder blades still dropping for the shoot tiger. It's a short form, so sit back with the palms opening slightly, opening. Turn the right toes in, hands fall. Knee lifts, so you're still sinking. Step through. Small turn left and then spiral up and out to the right. Keep the arms long. Keep the arms long and then move into the arms. Pivot on the heel of the back foot. Shoulder blade drop for the punch. Small turn to the left. Left hand drops under the right elbow. Sit a long way back through the stretching arms. Over and down to the back foot. Move into the centre. Hip opens, chest opens, hands fill. Settle to the front foot. Sit back through the spine. Turning to the right. Turn the left toes in. Press away from the right foot. Stepping with the right. Left hand slides over the right. Pivot on the heel of the left foot. Then the ball of the right foot. Draw the right heel to the left heel. So I'll do that again from that orientation, a little faster maybe. So obviously there were some details in the previous two classes that I'm skipping over a little more lightly. Snake creep down. Step up to form 7 stars. Retreat to right tiger. Sweet lotus. Shoot tiger with bow. Step up, block parry punch. Apparent closing. Do it the other way. That's the floor is a bit creaky actually. These are just bits of thin plywood that I had lying around, so they creak a bit. Snake creeps down. Step up to form 7 stars. Retreat to right tiger. Quite enough room there. Circle. Shoot tiger with bow. Small turn left before you step up to turn right. Apparent closing. Left slides over the right. Pivot on the heel of the left foot. Ball of the right foot. Draw the heel to the heel. I'll do that again. Maybe start slightly further forward this time. So snake creeps down. Sink into step. Sinking. Okay. So for whatever reason, it feels a bit rough today, and that's just the way of normal training. Actually, so, some days things seem to drop into place a little better. Other days just not quite the same. So you can't expect to do the same every day, and you should know the things that you're trying to change though, and know the things that you're trying to manage and work on. That's very important in terms of step by step, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year progress. Just to go through the form with some, blank mind is it's not really the way to train. You should have some idea to change something, and that's an extremely important thing for making progress. It doesn't mean to say if you've had a really bad day that you shouldn't just let yourself enjoy and absorb yourself in the form, let the whole thing flow, let yourself flow through the form. That's perfectly okay actually. And then maybe when you go through the form a second time, then you're in a slightly better state, a deeper state, then work on the things that you're attempting to change, because they don't change that quickly actually. You it's not as if you kind of have an idea of fixing, refining something on week 1, let's say, and then by week 2 you off onto something else, and week 3 something else. It's not the way. It's a constant perseverance and constant intention to change that one thing, which actually is probably the same in everything. So if there's something that you found isn't quite working well in one move or one loosening exercise, you're almost for certain that's mirrored everywhere else. But we'll do the meditation. So we're spending a little longer on the meditation, just for the sake of driving energy more strongly through the systems of the body, through the nervous system, and ensuring that the system is as robust as it can be. So the deep breathing, the waves of fluid movements, the fluid movements that actually move fluids through the body. And then driving the energy through the nervous system of the body, all extremely important and beneficial. We take a really good in-breath. And from the crown of the head, bring the awareness down through the brain, closing down, melting down through the chest and trunk. If you do that, there should be a genuine sliding down or melting, so the pressure in the seat will increase. Then spread the awareness out into the room, and then beyond the room into the local streets, wherever you are. And then pull back from the outer world, back to yourself. Good in-breath, fill the lungs. Awareness to the crown of the head, then bring that awareness down through the brain, the closing down, a genuine attempt to go to sleep inside yourself. Then melting down through the chest and trunk. Pressure in the seat. spread the awareness out into the room, then beyond the room into the local area. There might be sounds of traffic or birds or whatever. And then pull back from that, leaving the outer world distant. Pull back from the room, leaving the room distant. Pull back to yourself, the lower dantian, and a gentle in-breath. And on the out-breath, allow yourself to fall into the dreaming mind. The daydreaming mind that's cut off from the outer world, cut off from the body. This part of the mind that can take you in your dreams anywhere. Then we'll wake up again with a really good in-breath. Draw the awareness to the crown of the head. The out-breath, come down through the brain, the closing down, melting down through the chest and trunk, pressure in the seat. Spread the awareness out into the room, then into the outer world, just locally. And pull back from the outer world, pull back from the room, deeply into yourself. With a gentle in-breath and an out-breath, allow an unfathomably deep space to open up inside you. Of course, this represents your inner world. Just allow yourself to fall into that space. Let go. We'll touch into the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. We're looking for the tingling, fullness and warmth. Pain sensors, pressure sensors and temperature sensors. And spread the awareness around the hands and feet. Backs of the hands, tops of the feet, individual fingers and toes. And then spread the awareness up through the ankles and wrists, up through the lower arms and legs, up towards the knees and elbows, up through the upper arms and legs, up into the hips and shoulders. And then simultaneously sensing back into the forelimbs, listening as deeply as possible. Then out into the heat field that surrounds the limbs. And take something of that thick, etheric, warm heat field from the shoulders up through the neck to surround the head. The head now cloaked in a cloud of awareness. And pull that cloud of awareness down through the head, down through the neck, down through the chest and trunk. Looking for something deeper than the warmth and fullness. We're looking for the energetic systems working. Down to the base between the legs. With a small increased muscle tension in and around the perineum if you choose. On the in-breath, gather from all around you. A sense of gathering a cloud of light that you squash down to a fist-sized cloud of light at the base between the legs. The out-breath, you can allow the awareness to spread out around the body again. The in-breath gathering in, gathering the cloud of light and squashing it down to the base between the legs. The out-breath spreading out the awareness out into the space in and around the body. And then gather once again for a third time. Gather the cloud of light and compress it down to a fist-sized cloud of light at the base between the legs. And just remain concentrated at the base. Whilst the breathing just returns to normal, of course. And then when you're ready, we form the intention to lift and pull the mind like a stream of light or liquid light round to the sacrum with a strong effort. So pulling something continuous up to the base of the spine, then in and around the spine, pulling strongly up between the shoulder blades, back of the neck, through to the crown of the head. And on the out breath, flow down over the front center line, over the face, throat, chest, abdomen. Pull at the base. And when you're ready from there, pull strongly round to the sacrum again, a continuous stream of something pulled up the spine to the belt line, and then split at the belt line. Two streams of light pulled either side of the spine, all the way up the back, all the way up onto the shoulders. The out breath, as if the light were to pool like a liquid and flow down the outsides of the arms, over the forearms, the backs of the hands, the middle fingers, and into the palms of the hands. Concentrate fully into the palms of the hands. We're looking specifically for warmth and fullness. So this is listening into the energetic systems of the body. So two pools of energy at the palms of the hands, warmth and fullness, and then pull up strongly up the inside of each arm, strongly up the inside of each arm, up onto the chest. And on the out breath, the two straight streams of light that flow down the front of the chest. Forget the breathing, flow down to the belt line, around to the navel, join at the navel, flow down the front center line to the base between the legs. From there, pull strongly up through the central thrusting channel to the height of the solar plexus. With the out breath, let it go again, flow back to the base between the legs, spill up over the quad. Begin to flow down the fronts and outsides of the legs, fronts and outsides of the knees. Forget the breathing, flow down the fronts and outsides of the shins, down to the crease in the ankle. Rise onto the tops of the feet and along the tops of the feet to the middle toes, and over the middle toes into the soles of the feet. We're looking for the warmth and fullness. So similar sensations to that which we found in the palms of the hands. Although the warmth may be cool, but it's temperature and fullness. And from there, form a strong intention and pull up again the inside, the instep, snaking behind the inside back of the ankles, inside backs of the calves, crease in the back of the knee, rising up the inside backs of the thighs, join at the base between the legs, and inside the body to the height of the navel, and on the out breath, fall back to the base. So we'll do that twice more, the 8 paths, so 3 times in total, but we'll do it much quicker. From the base, between the legs, form the intention to lift and pull strongly round to the sacrum, pulling up through the spine. Really strongly pulling up through the spine in such a way that the spine changes, up through to the crown of the head. The out breath flowing over the front center line, flowing down, pulling in and around the base. Pull strongly up again, round to the sacrum, up to the belt line and split. 2 streams of light either side of the spine, all the way up onto the shoulders. The out breath flowing down the outsides of the arms, backs of the hands, middle fingers, palms of the hands. Pull strongly up from there, up the insides of the arms, up onto the chest, down the 2 outsides of the chest, 2 streams down the outside of the chest. Join at the navel, back to the base between the legs. Rise up to the height of the solar plexus inside. Fall away to the base between the legs. Spill up over the quad, down the fronts and outsides of the legs, knees, shins, onto the tops of the feet, middle toes, soles of the feet. Concentrate and pull strongly up the instep, back of the ankle, inside backs of the calves, crease in the knee, inside backs of the thighs. Join at the base. Rise to the height of the navel inside, the out breath flowing back to the base. One more time, perhaps a little faster, but with a stronger effort. Pull strongly round to the sacrum, as if driving something up through the spine, between the shoulder blades, back of the neck, crown of the head. The out-breath flowing down the front centre line, pulling at the base. Pull strongly up round to the sacrum, up to the belt line and split. 2 streams up the back. And on the out-breath, from the shoulders down the outsides of the arms, backs of the hands, middle fingers, palms of the hands. Pull strongly up again the inside of the arms, up onto the chest. The out-breath flowing down the 2 sides of the chest to the belt line, join at the navel, flow down the front centre line to the base. Pull strongly up to the height of the solar plexus. The out-breath flowing back to the base, spill up and over the quad, down the fronts and outsides of the legs, knees, shins, onto the tops of the feet, middle toes, soles of the feet, full concentration. Pull up strongly the instep, back of the ankle, inside calves, crease in the knee, inside thighs, base between the legs, up to the height of the navel. The out-breath, the flowing back to the base. And now we gather the available energy in and around the lower body energy centers, so from the base between the legs to about the height of the navel. Each in-breath, gathering strongly. The out-breath, just let the mind and awareness expand out around the body, as if the fisherman throwing out the net to catch something, and then pull strongly in, gathering at the base, the lower body energy centers. The out-breath, the spreading out again. The in-breath, the gathering in. And then pull strongly up in such a way that the muscles inside activate, up to the height of the solar plexus. And on the out-breath, let the cloud of light fill the chest, fill the body, fill the heat field and beyond into the arm's length distance that surrounds the body. Don't forget the back and sides. Gather at the base and pull strongly up again. Such an effort as if pulling on something unstoppable to the height of the middle dantian and expanding out, filling the body, the heat field and the arm's length space. So listen more in the cloud of light now than in the body. Let the mind return to the base, and for a third and final time pull strongly up. Expand out, centered in the middle dantian, expanding out into the arm's length sphere. Because it's usual for our practice, when we're listening into something, we then attempt to refine it or modify it, activate our intention within it. So within this sphere, you can begin to move the mind in and around the sphere, in any way you choose. Just like moving your hand in water or something, to create eddies and currents, as if moving swirling clouds of smoky light in and around the body. So you can swirl it in and around the limbs, in and around the trunk, around the head. No particular pattern. Just exercise your intention within the sphere that you're listening into. And we'll let that subside. And take the cloud of light and gently allow it to reduce down to in and around the solar plexus, up into the chest, solar plexus to base of throat, armpit to armpit. Go deeply and quietly into the light, centered in the middle dantian, the seat of the deep emotional. And then choose some person. As I've said previously, it can be a small group of connected people, like parents obviously connected, children obviously connected. You can create a small group of already connected people and send the intention out towards that small group, or a single person, of course. And surround the person or people with light. And you can offer your thought, question, or feeling. And then when you do this for yourself, if you have time, if you want to move the connection to another person, so it's reasonable to keep people who are already connected in a small group, but then people who are also connected with you, but not necessarily with the other people, you can just move your intention, move your light to those disparate people, as many times as you want. But for now, we'll withdraw the intention back to yourself. Of course, it's usual to offer thanks and respect for the connection made. And then we allow the cloud of light to expand out, centered in the middle dantian, out into the arm's length distance. And then we take the cloud of light once again and allow it to reduce back down to in and around the solar plexus. And we'll push it up with a big effort, push it up through the chest, up through the neck, up through the head, into the center of the head. Now the cloud of light centered in the head, and allow the cloud of light to expand out to surround the head and then surround into the arm's length distance, but still centered in the head. And then we take the cloud of light and allow it to reduce once again to surround the head. And now with the express intention of connecting to our conscience or inner guide, I have to say it's really important that you only connect to things within yourself, deeper parts of yourself. So the inner guide intimately connected with you during this life. You could say the guide to the conscience. So you're connecting to this very deep or high part of yourself. So with a very clear and strong intention to connect to your conscience. And a reasonable thing to do is ask for help on developing yourself on an internal level. Then again, with a deep respect or humility, we can begin to close that part of the exercise. Allow the cloud of light, still centered in the head, to expand out into the arm's length distance. So this constant expanding the light into the arm's length distance, and whilst remaining centered in one or other of the centers, helps to share and balance the work done on one center with work on the other centers. For now, we close the light, allow the cloud of light to reduce and surround the head. And they take the cloud of light with a clear effort down from the head, down through the neck, down through the chest, to in and around the solar plexus. So centering the light once again in the middle dantian. You can allow the cloud of light to expand out into the arm's length distance. We'll touch into the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet. We're looking for the tingling fullness warmth. Spread that simultaneously through the whole system. Listen out into the heat field. Listen right to the edge of the heat field. Make your attempt to listen just beyond that edge of the heat field. So listening for that can't quite yet be heard, looking for that can't quite yet be seen, but we know something's there. Give yourself a suggestion to keep a connection to this very deep part of yourself. And slowly allow the eyes to open. So it's absolutely not recommended that you try to connect with anything else. This is what my teacher says. So the psychics and the people who do these tricky things will only lead themselves towards trouble. So it's absolutely stupid to try to do something like that. It's usually for money or power or some business that people are trying to run as a psychic or whatever. So these things are of no value to people developing themselves, and in fact they're side paths at best, and at worst extremely dangerous. So that's the advice of my teacher. Best not to dabble with these things. So the meditation in stages. I don't really recommend doing the upper dantian, the work in the upper dantian, unless you're guided through it. Unless you've trained for a long time. So whilst we're guiding you through it, it's okay. But if you haven't trained for a long time, the advice is really not. So I'm telling you, in all seriousness. We are, of course, three centres of intelligence, a lower dantian, a middle dantian, and an upper dantian. Each of those centres, for some reason, are connected with one with the body, one with the deep emotional, one with the deep mental, for reasons beyond understanding. And so our aim in the practice, of course, is to work our way slowly through each, but actually we already exist on all three levels. So it's not that when we train the Tai Chi in a more body way, doing the postures and things, that the deep emotional or the deep mental aren't being affected, because they are. Because we exist over all three centres simultaneously. It just means that maybe at this moment of time we have more ability to manage the body, or not. We have an ability on that level, and then slowly we build an ability on the deep emotional level, and slowly an ability on the deep mental level. So we are working on simultaneously three centres, and the meditation, of course, reflects that. Okay, that's about it. That's just a little over 50 minutes. I think it's probably just under an hour though. So I hope that's of use. The feedback's interesting, or the questions are interesting. I try to include and answer the questions in the next video as such. So stay well and see you soon.